You know, I review all types of guns here, from the budget-friendly to the more high-end and everything in between. But today I'm going to show you the Swiss watch of rifles. I have the APC 308 Pro and I have the APC 223. And I'm going to talk about these two guns from B&T and tell you if I truly believe that these guns are worth the money that they command. I'm going to compare them to some of the counterparts that you would expect. For instance, this one to the SCAR, this one to a traditional AR, and just see if we come up with anything here that would make you want to spend this kind of money on either one of these rifles. And I'm going to give you my straight up opinion. And so if you like what I do here, consider subscribing. You could also join us on Patreon or join the channel right here if you like the type of content I do, which is gun reviews, rifles, pistols, comparisons, best ofs, everything pretty much gun related right here in one place. If you want to see us continue to do that and support what we do, you could join the SHOT team either on Patreon or right here. Let's go and get started. Now let's go ahead and start with some of the common features between both rifles. So we have a 16-inch barrel, and then we have their proprietary flash hider that's going to work with their suppressors. Now B&T started in 1991 making suppressors, but since then they've added an entire catalog of guns for military and civilian markets. Rifles, pistols, PDWs, PCCs, suppressors. They even have a Welrod copy from World War II, which is like the suppressed pistol from back in the day, which is just awesome. So they have a ton of experience. Even though they haven't been around for a long time, there's one thing they are known for, and that's quality. So we're going to talk about that, of course, throughout this video. Now, we have a 3-position adjustable gas system here, so we can allow more or less gas into it. It's a short stroke gas system, and it works well, just depending upon the suppressor and what kind of ammo you're actually running through the gun. Both of them have a monolithic upper receiver. You'll notice that we have 1913 Picatinny rail on the top and bottom, and then we have M-LOK on the sides. So that allows us to keep an overall very short profile, or a smaller profile, so even if you want to do a thumb over bore with this gun, you can do that. Now, I am a true believer in Trijicon now, and so if I forget any of the details on either of these guns, I can actually read the small print on my computer from here. These things are so impressive, man. I am seriously impressed. This one's a 3.5 times magnification, by the way. So super small profile in here, less than 8 pounds for a battle rifle. That's pretty freaking impressive. Another thing that we have is ambidextrous controls throughout. Now, you know, to me, I was kind of like, you know, these things lay down flush on the receiver. It's going to be kind of hard to get to. But they have like a relief cut at the end here, which is cut away from the receiver. So even if they're flush, as soon as you run your finger down, it's going to drop that non-reciprocating charging handle, so you can get that thing back to the rear and get the gun charged up. Magazine release, bolt release, all ambidextrous. Again, we can just simply push down, boom, and drop it, right? It's in almost the perfect spot. Magazine release, all of that. Safety selector. So with my thumb, I'll sweep it down, index finger, sweep it back up. It's out of the way. It's got a very short throw on it, and it's super audible and tactile, so you can get that thing off and on as needed. We have a skeletonized flat face trigger. Now, interestingly, if we pull the trigger right now, I can turn the safety back on, I can turn it off, so you can, you know, turn that safety on no matter what position the hammer is in. You don't have to reset it. If you change this trigger out, which I don't know why you would, but if you do, you'll lose that capability. Now, one of the most special features on this gun is the stock. Well, it's kind of what's hidden inside the stock, really. So we have a 6-position adjustable stock, okay? We have a 3-position adjustable cheek riser. Now, one thing that you may not hear is any kind of squeaking like you would on the SCAR, right? The UGG boot on the SCAR. it's just not that great. I've talked about this with the Scar extensively. It's just not that good. Another thing that you have on the B&T is it folds, just like the Scar. But unlike the Scar, I can deploy this super quickly and trust that it's not only going to deploy when I need it to, but it's also not going to break like they tend to on the Scar if you try to deploy them too quickly. And so this thing is just super high quality. This gun also has the cool factor, by the way. They have that like copper bronze look back here on the end of the receiver on the lower. It looks phenomenal. Mixture of FDEs between the materials looks good. Another thing that the stock has in it, and the reason this thing is $600, is it uses a hydraulic buffer. Now, the only thing I will say is they are a little bit harder to actually deploy because you can't just do one side. You actually got to push both sides in, and then you got to use your other hand to kind of pull them along. But once you get them in place, they're in place, right? Now, what we have is a traditional guide rod and spring that's going to actuate and bring the bolt back into battery, but we also have a hydraulic buffer for the bolt as well. And this is going to soften the recoil. This is one of the small areas that you will notice and just how smooth it is. So, for instance, when I shoot the Scar, it has fairly mild recoil to it until I add a suppressor. That's more the adjustable gas system or lack thereof, why you get such a sharp recoil impulse with the Scar, and you don't get that with the B&T. But the softness, even unsuppressed on both guns, you can tell the B&T is just so much softer. I mean, you basically have a little shock absorber back here in the rear, and it just does an incredible job of softening that bolt as it comes back just enough to make these things just incredibly soft shooting. Hopefully the camera will show it, and maybe I can convey that to you the best I can, but really you would have to shoot these things compared to traditional ARs or traditional 308s to really see what I'm talking about. It is very impressive. Also, we have a very simple breakdown, but then we also have the lower right here. So we have 2 pins, push those out, boom, the lower is going to come down, and then of course we can, take the stock off. That just kind of pushes down, and then we can take the bolt out. We have dual ejectors on the bolt and the carrier. Everything is all one solid piece. Now, this one actually does utilize a 2-piece rail here, so if you want to swap that out. But again, it's basically the same style here, right? We have Picatinny on the top, and then we have M-LOK on the sides. So again, if you want to do a thumb over bore, it's still small enough to do that. Another thing that you will notice with the rifle, when you start working the gun, is just how smooth that action is. It's actually pretty satisfying to work the action back and forth. Again, it's the Swiss watch of rifles, so you would think it should be smooth, and it absolutely is. Well, it knocked the target off, so it's somewhat accurate. And again, the 5.56, you deploy that thing, it is ready to go. The flat face trigger on both guns, they call it a 2-stage. It's a flat face, skeletonized. It's got ridges on the front of it. Turn the safety off, that helps. I don't feel the first stage of that. It just pulls right on through. Reset, right there. You could change this trigger. I'm not sure why you would want to, though. Now, the 308 safety is actually a little bit newer, but I find that it's a little bit easier to actuate back up into the safe position. This one may just need to be worked in a little bit more, but it's still super convenient as far as the safety. Now, as I'm going through these rifles, thinking about the Scar, thinking about traditional ARs, I'm like, do these guns really do anything better? Yeah, they do. They're just super smooth and they're just super low recoiling. So if you are somebody that just wants, I guess the best way to say it is like, let's say you own ARs, right? You own quite a few of them. You're getting bored of them. You want to go to that next level above maybe even the CZ Bren rifles or your MCXs, and you just want that next level of 5.56 or 223 or battle rifle in 308, this is where it's at. If you want a gun that I'm going to assume with as well made as every component is on this gun, that it's going to run for a long time. Now, anybody that's had these for a longer period of time and put more rounds through them, I'd love to hear your experience up to this point. But I can't see these things not running because they are made so freaking well. Of course, I didn't have any issues with them. I also didn't go to my normal range, so I wasn't able to stretch the legs on these guns like I normally will do at 300, 400, 500 yards. But again, I really don't have any doubts about either one of these guns. So while they may not do anything like so much better that it would justify spending this kind of money for maybe a first gun, after you've fulfilled that role of, oh yeah, I got my first AR or maybe my second one, and you want to step up to the next level of firearms, this is the next level. It truly is the Swiss watch of the rifle world. And each one of these guns, if I were to grade them, we're talking like 9.75 out of 10. The only reason I don't do 10 out of 10 is because again, they're just expensive, really expensive. But if we just throw cost out the window for a minute, they are an absolute 10 out of 10. There's nothing on this gun I would change. I would put an optic on it like the Trigicon and let it roll. So unlike the Scar, and unlike a bunch of ARs where you can sink some money into an AR, you get a traditional AR and you're going to change a lot of the components on there to make it good. These things are perfect, damn near perfect, right out of the box. And if I were to go back and buy another Scar, I wouldn't buy the Scar. I would actually buy this rifle right here. That's how good this thing is. I am so freaking impressed. Call me a B&T fanboy at this point. I'm okay with that because these things are incredible. That's my opinion though. I'd love to hear yours. If you've ever shot one of these, if you're looking at one, what do you maybe like? What don't you like about your gun? If you've spent maybe some more time with it than I have you had any issues with them? I'd love to hear all of that stuff down below. Again, if you like what I do, consider subscribing. You could also join us on Patreon or join the channel right here and become a part of the SHOT team. I also have some brand new merch that's out and some really cool designs. You can check all that stuff out in the description box. I also have a link tree, so you can go to each one of my socials from Instagram to YouTube and everything that I do with one link that's in the description box as well. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.